Welcome back to Viking basketball with Barret Peery, as the Vikings are now fully into their non-conference schedule, and Portland State will play 3 games in the next 9 days, and we'll talk about those 3 opponents a little bit, and we'll start with this Saturday night, the Vikings hosting Willamette right here in the Viking Pavilion. Coach, and playing a Division III team, you played down, that makes you the favorites. What do you get from having your team play a lower division team? What are the benefits for your program?
Well, first of all, we'll never take anybody for granted. I think every night at this time of year you see one of these upsets happening. If you follow scores like junkies like you and I do, there's always one of these upsets going on. So we'll never take anybody for granted. But, you know, we hope that we can get to play everybody and get more and more experience out here on this floor. Last week was good for us, getting those 2 games under our belt, especially the opener. But, yeah, it'll be another good opportunity for us to get better and have a good opponent.
And if you happen to be here last weekend, great crowd, a lot of excitement, a lot of noise. Viking Pavilion is definitely living up to the hype as a great home venue for the Vikings. Now, next weekend, Thanksgiving weekend, Portland State will be on the road playing at CenturyLink Arena in Boise, and that's the home of the Big Sky Conference Championship this year. So I know you want to see that venue, and you got a couple of opponents, UC Santa Barbara and Northwest Nazarene, that you're going to face. And what's that experience going to be like for your team?
Well, when we put that together with Idaho, we thought it was going to be a great opportunity for us to be in that arena and get some time on that floor, which I still think is the case. Santa Barbara coming off a great year. I believe they were 23-9 last year, have got off to a good start this year, so that'll be a tough opponent. And then we'll move on to the next one on that Saturday. But, you know, next week will be tough as well.
All right, and as we take a look back at the first week of Viking basketball, a loss at Oregon, a win here at home. What did you take away from those 2 games? Obviously, you don't really know what you have until you're out there in the live action. What did you learn about your team?
Well, the Oregon game was kind of one of the most difficult, weird games I've ever been a part of. We out-rebound that team. We turn them over a bunch of times, but we can't make a shot. So a lot of the stats were really in our favor. I thought we did a good job in playing that game, but when it was time to hit shots, we couldn't do it. Even when we had some windows of opportunity in the second half, when it was down to 8 or 9, just couldn't come up with the shot that we needed to make. And so, you know, I was proud of our guys, you know, getting on the glass the way they did. We out-rebounded them. Our offensive rebounds were awesome. We turned them over a bunch, but just couldn't make shots when we needed to. Here on Saturday, you know, I thought it was one of those grinded-out type games where we had to find a way to win. We still didn't shoot the ball very well at all, especially from the free throw line, you know. The three-point line, you know, that's going to come and go a little bit like a lot of teams in America, so I'm not going to overthink that much, but I was disappointed in us at the foul line last week. We got to do a better job of that for sure this week and in the future.
Okay, and a plus 10 per game advantage in offensive rebounding, plus 7.5 in turnover margin. Those are the things that you really focus on with your team. You have to feel good about that in the early season.
Yeah, I think it looks how it's supposed to look. We're playing the way we're supposed to play. We haven't made people pay when we've turned them over quite the way we need to, which is usually the case early on. We've been a little bit sloppy in our numbers game, whether it's getting a turnover, getting a good stop, and then running out 4-on-3, 5-on-4, things like that. We got to make people pay, but those numbers are good. If we're turning people over, if we're getting on the offensive glass, if we're shooting a lot of free throws, you know, like Saturday we shot 29 free throws, just we only made 14 of them, so it was still a close game.
So you and I could maybe make 14 out of 20.
My daughter and I, yeah, we talked about that on Sunday at length. She was a little disappointed in us. She wanted to come in yesterday for practice and do some teaching, but we voted against it.
Okay, let's talk about shooting a little bit. So your team cold at Oregon, a little better here against Riverside, but what does a coach do? What's the remedy to deal with the team that's struggling to shoot the ball?
You know, it's never been my personality to overthink the shooting part of it. I think we're always going to coach good shot, bad shot, and making sure we're taking good shots. I didn't think we took a lot of bad shots last week. We just didn't make them. I told the guys right to their faces, we didn't recruit bad shooters. We didn't recruit bad players, so it was just a tough week shooting the ball. I'm never going to be that guy that overthinks that part of it. I do want to put a big emphasis on the free throw line, though. Like I said earlier, we need to step up and get those done and make those when we have those opportunities. But the three-point shot, that's going to come and go a little bit for everybody in America.
Okay, and when you look at your team, in particular the new guys that we saw out on the floor, I have a personal favorite. I loved watching Sal Nuhu.
Yeah.
He blocked some shots, and I'm going to love watching him block shots all season. He has great length out there. But what'd you see from your new guys, and maybe some guys that put out a good performance for you?
Well, starting with Sal, I thought Sal gave us a great energy boost and probably made that game turn in our favor. Right when it was, touch and go, he made some good deflection plays, some good block shots, started the break, finished around the rim. I've been pleased with all of our new guys. The 4 JUCO guys have all done a great job of kind of trying to figure out where they fit. They're going to continue to do that this week and in the weeks to come as we get to January. And then, our freshmen, 2 of our freshmen are redshirting, and then Phillips coming off a concussion. So Phillips is one of those guys that I hope to see get a bunch of minutes on Saturday and get him experience that we need to have for him.
And that was going to be my next question. Talk a little bit about the freshmen and the fact that you are going to redshirt a couple of them. That's I think, a virtue of probably having pretty good depth, but just explain that a little.
Yeah, I mean, if you can be selfish about it and say, hey, I want to get this person in our program and have them learn and not burn their year and have the luxury to do that, I think that's what we have right now at those positions. So Kyle and Trey obviously is having an injury, so he's going to redshirt no matter what, whether we need him or not. But those guys will grow in the program and get to learn and understand and then be freshmen again next year, which will be nice. Philip's going to get more experience this year and learn on the fly. But those guys, we have good depth. We have good experience on our team, and so we have the luxury of being able to redshirt them. But, like we've told them all, if you use that year wisely and use your opportunity wisely and with a lot of great effort, you can really grow from it.
Okay, and as we get ready for these next 3 games, before we talk to you again, what are your priorities for your team coming up here in the next 9 days?
Other than making some shots on the perimeter, I think that, we want to continue to just kind of learn our rotation, learn our system, learn who's going to come in and out of the game at what times and who's playing what spots. We're still dabbling with a lot of things right now on the perimeter, different positions, different spots, and where we're plugging guys in at. I want to get that cleaned up a little bit and shored up and not be we've kind of been all over the board with it a little bit as I've tried to kind of taste test where people fit. As we go through it and get closer to December and then obviously to January, I think you'll see us trim that down a little bit, but we'll always be playing a lot of guys.
All right, there it is. The Vikings home Saturday night against Willamette right here in the Viking Pavilion, 7 p.m. Then next week on the road, CenturyLink Arena in Boise. You can see all 3 of those games on Pluto TV. If you'd like more information on Viking basketball, go to GoVikes.com.